Let's see if we can get in.
Different from what we're used to.
Hello and welcome. This is Rosangel Perez of Cafecito Break, and today we have such a wonderful, very, very special evening. It is a gathering of the tribe. Are you feeling the callback? Because I have. And I have to say that I started feeling it really strongly late last year. And then over December, I started to feel like the faint drum beat of the shamanic drum, like when you hear it at a gathering, and you start hearing everybody else start to bring in their rhythms and and all of their instruments, whether it's natural, whether it's their voice, whether it's a little whistle, but you start to appreciate the different sounds and the harmony that people can create when everyone is together in a space creating harmony and being present as one. Tonight, we have a beautiful conversation. I am delighted to bring to you on stage a gathering of family and introducing. Today, we're going to be talking about August 19th and 20 through 2025, 2024, and with special guest tonight, Michael DiMartino. So are we ready to reveal the little faces? Here's the family. Hello, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maureen, for being here. Thank you, Gail, for being here. I hope Connie is able to connect. Do us a favor, everyone, if you're listening on social media, like, share, comment. That helps us get found on the algorithm. And if you're feeling that callback, please be present with us. I'm going to go dark for a little bit, and I'm going to pass this screen to Michael DiMartino. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. And I just wanted to start. So I just wanted to thank you for having this opportunity right now. And I want to send blessings to you and your family, and to many people and many families around the world that are just going through this tsunami of transition that's happening on a global level. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm the producer of the Earthstock Eco-Spiritual Summit, August 19th through 25th. It'll be based in Southern Colorado in the town of Crestone, but will be broadcast around the world. And today we have some amazing, just a little sample of some of the presenters that will be part of this event. So again, we just want to acknowledge all the things that people are going through right now as we go through this transition. And before we start, I just want to invite in Grandmother Gail Thomas. A big part of what we do with these events is we always put the voice of traditional people, of women and youth and the grandmothers at the forefront. So I'd like to invite Grandmother Gail Thomas to open with a prayer, followed by Maureen, who's going to help us all really get coherent and get on the same energetic page. So welcome, Grandmother Gail.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm happy to be here with all of you tonight, and our prayers are our songs. So I want to share an eagle song that came from Grandpa Wallace Black Elk, because his great-grandchildren are going to be joining us in the summit. And I want to honor all of their family and all of us together with this eagle song. So sing with me. Even if you don't know the song, sing with me. Feel the frequency and the vibration. Grandma Wallace asked us to sing that song every chance we get. And my ancestral lineage is actually Salagi, which is the people who resisted both removal on the Trail of Tears and the reservation that the federal government calls Cherokee, who resisted by hiding in these mountains. And I live on our sacred mountain, Aragul, in the river basin, Wayumi Ganaita, Takiosti, also called Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm happy to bring the sacred energy of this mountain to all of you tonight and to all of you who join us in the Earthstock Summit. So thank you.
And thank you, Grandmother Gail, for that beautiful welcome and opening with a sacred song of Black Elk. Very, very special. And so, riding on that energy, on that sacred space, I invite you to be present and breathe. Just breathe in that source energy. And as you're breathing in, remembering that is your breath of life that brings us in from the infinite into the physical form. It's a crossover point. Our breath is our greatest access to our infinite potential. And I'm going to ask Michael if he could please mute while we're doing this work. Thank you, Michael. And so, in this sacred space, in the quietness of our own hearts, just breathing that source energy into our hearts and remembering who we are as spiritual beings, magnificent beyond measure, powerful beyond measure, with access to the solutions and all of the brilliance that we could ever imagine. And inviting all of your spiritual team, whatever that may be for you, And breathing with awareness of your body, which is a magnificent miracle machine. The body is instantly responding to everything in your field. So let's just switch on that next level of our capacity to respond to our limitless selves. Switch on, body. Wake up, body. And now we're at the command center because we are the choosers. Believe it or not, we're commanders of our reality. So let us bring in the highest, the best, the most heartfelt, loving presence that is the greatest healer of all. And allowing anything and everything that is not that to simply dissolve from the nothingness from which it came. And breathing in and out of our heart centers with love, because that's truly all there is in that greater cosmic field of wholeness that we're all part of and one with in our unique, diverse expressions. So as we breathe in our portion of the wholeness, all is one. And everything that separates us, everything that creates static and limits our signals, our ability to receive and be the greater truth of who we are, is right now just dissolving automatically and effortlessly in the background of our superconscious selves. And breathing in and out with love. Breathing with your hand on your heart. And so let's just anchor this new program of love, of freedom, of anything and everything that is not love, that has no space, no place, that allows us now to fill it up with grace, with big, beautiful smiles on our face. And just being in that loving presence of our heart. Breathing in as you touch your heart. And breathing out, just let your hand drop. Just everything else that's not love is dropping away. And breathing in, touching your heart. And breathing out, letting go. 5 times is the new program, so we're breathing in the 3rd time. Letting go. Breathing in love. Breathing in and breathing out the expression of our greater selves. Breathing in love. And just breathing out love. Breathing in presence. Breathing out. And so it is for now, in this moment of now.
Great, thank you so much, Maureen. And that's just a little sample of some of what we'll be experiencing during the 7 days of the Earthstock Summit. And I know we have more people who want to share a little bit today. And again, I want to thank Capacito for this opportunity to share a little bit about the event. And I want to say, just to preface this time we have together, with our opening prayer and with everyone just sitting quietly and getting coherent and really dropping into their heart and presence. There's so much happening right now in the world between our own personal transformation, what's happening maybe with our families. I mean, literally this week I talked with probably at least 30 people whose family members are going through very challenging situations, whatever it might be, with health or with travel, or what's happening with politics or social change or the economy. That there's plenty of things to keep us distracted and not focused on what's real and what's essential and what's going to help us navigate through this time of transformation and also of regeneration, which is a really big part of what Earthstock Summit is about, and also Earthstock Foundation is about. It's about bringing real world solutions to people, planet, and the future, so that we can not only enhance our quality of our lives, but really, without sounding too doom and gloomy, is going to help us to survive over the next 10 or so years of this incredible transformation that's happening on all levels. Now, when I say this, these are not my words alone, and I'm sure many of you resonate, even if we look back to 4 years ago with the whole pandemic and the incredible way that everything we held as priorities and took for granted possibly went through a major shift or transformation. But right now, in many of these prophecies, whether it's the eagle and condor, whether it's the white buffalo, which another one was just born in Yellowstone Park, whether it's you're a Buddhist about the Maitreya Buddha, or if you're someone who knows about the sacred hoop teachings, that there's so many things unraveling and rebuilding and regenerating themselves right now, that we're all being asked to release what no longer serves us and serves future generations and serves the planet, but can help us to move forward in, again, quality of life, but the ability to have a healthy existence and harmonious resistance with Mother Earth. And, when we talk about this, we can say peace and love, and we can all use flowery words, but I want to acknowledge that it can also be really painful. And I don't want to candy coat the reality that a lot of people are going through a lot of suffering right now. Even people I work with right now in Uganda, Africa, or other parts of the world, just the whole idea of having food and water security can be very challenging. So I'm not here to, generate a gray cloud over this meeting, but I'm here to talk about that this Earthstock Summit and the people that are here and the invitation we're giving is really about bringing people, organizations, projects together to help bring regenerative solutions to the world at this time of incredible planetary transformation. As many of the Hopi I work with, they call this the Great Purification, moving from the fourth world to the fifth world. This isn't something I made up. This is really based on the teachings of many cultures from around the world. So I'm sharing this because I don't want to be here today just adding to the information saturation that's so prevalent right now. But I want to also acknowledge that independent media and shows like this are very important to build community and to bring these messages to people, not only to sometimes preach to the choir, but to reach new ears of people that are hungry to be inspired. They want to feel connection. They want to be part of community. They want to feel the unity. They want to feel that connection. And so many things in society don't necessarily cultivate that. So I just wanted to mention that as like a framework of why we're spending thousands of hours and so many people, hundreds of us are gathering for this Earthstock Eco Spiritual Summit, August 19th or 25th, to bring solutions and medicine to a humanity that is in need of these things. So with that, we're going to introduce Connie and Andrew in a moment, but I want to pass it back over to our hostess.
Apologies, I was on mute. Hello. Apologies that I was on off screen for a little while, but it is important for us to start on time. And I'm so grateful to be in the presence of all of you. I could definitely feel the energy shift the moment that we opened up space. And I'm hoping that the people who are listening, or if you're just tuning in, please, I invite you to let this play through, but then rewind and feel that beautiful resonance that people who are in this room, we can co-create together. And right now, in these very inflammatory times, it is definitely like, with everything, for example, that we've just witnessed in this year alone. Yeah, and we could, because we can dive deep into other years, but just this year alone, it makes sense why there are people who feel this impending need, especially those like yourselves that have been way showers, who have been teaching, who have been sitting in circles, learning from indigenous communities, and everyone learning and teaching one another and sharing and creating, you start understanding what that really means to be in a spirit of cooperation and unity and harmony, where you appreciate. And I think that that is actually one of the most important words that I would use to define the spaces that sometimes I find myself in. I do a lot of work in covering politics and news, right? And then the other slice of music and entertainment. And then this wellness metaphysical space is something that my sister and I, this is just a part of like our lives in some way. When you look back and you start to see why you have certain awarenesses in the present moment, you realize you have little traces of that when you were little. Why is that important to say? Is that to this day in the present moment, there are people who are in communities of mine, for example, that just if I gifted them a little incense, they would assume that I'm creating witchcraft. If they walked into my space and saw that maybe I had a crystal, then there's dark magic here. And even saying certain words get you in trouble. Like when I found myself getting lectured about Christianity in a woman's bathroom, because I said that every single time I experienced the energy in Phoenix or in Arizona, that when I would travel back to New York, I would experience a purge every single time. And it was multi-layered, right? Not just sickness. I was done for like 2-3 weeks. And then the last time it was like almost like a reset. So I use the word magic, and all of a sudden you trigger communities. And right now, what I'm seeing, especially being very niched in the alternative media space, but being a convert from the music television industry, which is corporate media, right? So those are my lenses. And then even though everyone has their journey, but I was really trying to run away from this path, the medicine path, because I didn't know those conversations, the language, there wasn't a framework for that in the settings that I have most of my professional experience in. And when, even though I have a love for politics and I can talk to people all day and every day about this, and the same thing for like figuring out what's happening in the entertainment industry, for example, what I do see in many sides is people are in extreme pockets. People are fighting with each other over words. People are looking at someone and judging by skin and just shouting appropriation. People get angry because maybe you're bringing wisdom, and they get really triggered because now they want to tell you how to give them that information. And I feel like we are definitely in a moment where coming back to the fire and learning some of the one-on-ones, like listening, connecting, looking at one another's eyes, being respectful, like how we were saying, we know we got to start on time. And I kind of appreciate that I got that little check before we started on stage, because I was like trying to 5 o'clock, and you were like, no, we told people we're going to start at 8 o'clock. And that is completely fine. That's what happens when you're in a circle and you can trust the people of the wisdom that you're in. And then at that point, I knew that I could trust you. I was like, I had a family emergency, and Michael, I don't know you, but you said, I got you.
Well, this is something I just wanted to share briefly too. And again, people have and I will say I'm an interfaith minister. I spent 3 years studying world religions. I could go through the whole lineage, the teachings, the philosophies, but I'm not saying this to like pat myself on the back. In all my research and all the studies I did, I find that basically like humanity is one and connected, even though we might have different names and forms, whether we're connected to elementals and we sit around a sacred fire, or you go to a church or a mosque, or you go and you stand at the top of a mountain, that there are some very basic universal truths that connect us all together. And this is where we look at the reality of spirituality beyond just the religious discipline or the religious lens itself. And I will say that is very obvious in medicine that humanity needs right now, whether we're looking at what's happening with war, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit holes. We all have enough corporate media that we're aware of what's going on, and we're aware of the narrative that is being fed to us because basically most of the world's media is controlled by a few very large corporations that have a very specific agenda and benefit from that. So I want to say that this show, like yours, what Connie and Andrew is doing with independent media, there's so much happening right now on the internet and these different platforms that it's really incredible that we can get together. But if we look at it in a scientific way, because unity can be very, opaque to people. Oh yeah, unity and peace and love, and it can be very woo-woo, and it could be very fluffy and like people can think about, Woodstock and the hippie movement. But the reality is that these are concepts and ideas that still have gravity and still have traction and depth in reality. And in actuality, with the levels, because I also used to be an investigative journalist, we can see that the human condition is, let's admit it, it's mostly broken. The politicalization of everything, the divisiveness, the racism, the boundaries, the borders, like the way everything has been chopped up and basically created into very specific demographics and consumerism. And I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole about that. The reality is that in all of that chaos and agendas, that we've actually found a group of people that, like you said, we got you, that are very committed to unity, committed to compassion, committed to working together, committed into sustainability, and committed into allowing ourselves to regenerate from what the past has brought us to through this time of transition, to emerge as kind of a new humanity, a new earth, a new paradigm. And again, some of that can sound woo-woo, but I think we can tell by just looking anywhere in the world right now that everything is changing socially, politically, environmentally, economic. So, unless someone's head is completely buried in the sand, it's easy to see that there's this global, I call it the regeneissance. There's actually a renaissance happening right now all around the world, culturally, in so many areas. And this is why, again, the Earthstock Summit is we're bringing some of these innovators, some of these visionaries, some of these projects, people, and solutionaries forward, whether it has to do with our personal health and wellness of spirit, mind, and body, whether it has to do with how to be more self-sustainable and be more sovereign, connecting with the land, whether it has to do with, and again, people want to debate even climate change, whether you believe it's a natural phenomenon that happens, which it does as a cycle of nature, and human beings are contributing to it. This isn't about people's preceptions or perceptions. This is about actually getting outside of yourself and deep listening and looking at the reality and responding to that. But I will say there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. And again, for me, it's like, I'm not here to try to preach from the pulpit and convert people. I'm looking for people who are either inspired and awake and want to work together. And I'm not talking about wokeism, because that's another word that's been completely manipulated and corrupted. That we're looking for people that are awake and compassionate and aware and are heart-centered, who want to do something to bring solutions to a lot of these issues that are happening around the world. And I will say, if you look at quantum physics, it's about vibration and frequency. I'm not here, and believe me, 40 years of working all over the world, working, with various communities, all sorts of demographics of people. I've, seen a lot. I actually, when I first left home, I lived on the streets for years, even though I came from middle America, because I wanted to know what it was like to actually have nothing. So again, not to toot my horn, but coming from a wide range of experience, that we have to see the equality in all people, and that we're all created from the same creator. We all come from the same source. And this whole thing of entitlement and privilege and judgment, and that's not any of our job. I leave that to a higher power. But the idea, just like frequency finds frequency and resonance finds resonance, now we live in a time that we have to find the people we resonate with, and we have to start creating a new culture, a new paradigm of collaboration and compassion and unity. And that's a big part of what Buckminster Fuller said. He goes, so many people want to fight against what they're against. Why don't you just go and build what you're for and become a living embodiment of that? So, this is a huge tangent. I could actually get kind of radical about it, because traveling all over the world, not just coming from a North American perspective, I've lived in New York City, I've lived in LA, I've lived in different parts of the world, South America, Brazil, sub-equatorial countries, which many in the North call third world. I mean, all of these things are basically bringing us to the realization that humanity is one and we're all interdependent. And we have to learn how to work together and get along, because the survival of the majority of humanity really depends on it. This is not just some groovy countercultural movement. We're all going to, sit around and sing Kumbaya. These are people who are working with every aspect of the human experience and our relationship to nature and trying to find solutions. And with that, I want to share a little bit about our next presenter, who is doing amazing work because they're doing films that are bringing very important things to light. So with that, I will stop babbling, and I want to welcome Connie and Andrew.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that synopsis of all the important thinking in the world. And I also want to thank Gail for opening this time with the Eagle song from Wallace Black Elk, who was a very precious friend of mine, and who opened my heart and mind to what the Indigenous peoples are caring for humanity. 30 years ago, he came into my life when I was looking for the missing pieces of our paradigm. And as soon as he opened his mouth and how he expressed the tree people and the creepy crawlies and the fish people, all of a sudden we became one. And I saw that they're carrying the information about the true nature of the universe, that the native people are carrying, and that information for humanity for now. And so it's so important that the elders get to come to Earthstock and bring their wisdom. And Wallace's daughter, actually, and grandson, and her two daughters, so his two granddaughters, are going to be there bringing the sacred ways of the Lakota from their connection with their grandfather ongoing, because Wallace has been gone for some time now. But I just want to encourage people to support the GoFundMe to bring the elders to this Earthstock, because Earthstock is founded on Indigenous wisdom. And that's so key for these times, not just for the climate crisis, but for our connection to the oneness and sacredness of all life that we're awakening to now that the energy on the planet is actually shifted into a higher frequency. Michael said that it is physics, it is frequency. And we're actually bringing a workshop to the Earthstock Summit with Maureen Edwardson, who's here. And that workshop is called Realizing Prophecy Through Accessing the Trust Frequency, which is walking in absolute trust of a conscious, loving universe, which is in the native knowing, in the native way. And quantum science is proving what the Indigenous peoples know. And so our work is a synthesis of quantum science and Indigenous cosmology. And Maureen brings the quantum aspect of clearing, so that one can access new assumptions. We have 10 assumptions for a new paradigm that takes us beyond right, wrong, good, evil, and victim perpetrator, which is a huge leap. But in the native way, everything has a purpose. So if everything has a purpose, And if God is love, and love is God is love, and God is everything, then everything is love. So we resolve that love not love paradox with our work. So I just wanted to share that. And Andrew, do you want to share anything about our films?
I certainly can.
We're going to be screening our films at the Earthstock as well.
I just wonder how many of our listeners here know who grandfather Wallace Black Elk was. I think it just might be worth giving a brief little description of who he was and what he did and where he was from.
Well, he was one of the great Lakota elders, a major player in Michael DiMartino's life, in my life, and in everyone he touched. I called him a walking phenomenon. Because of what he saw, what he knew, and what he was desperate to have us white folks understand, us Western thinkers understand. So he was a great Lakota elder.
All right. And it's just a real treat for me personally to be live from Brooklyn. I spent a fair amount of time. I lived for 12 years in Manhattan, and I used to come across to Brooklyn to BAM and various other beautiful adventures. And ended up out in Eastern Long Island, raising my kids out there. And I live out in Colorado now, out in, shall we say, Indian country, Native American country, actually in the sacred land of the Arapaho people back in the day. So we, Connie and I, make films. Among other things, we've written a book called Connie mentioned the trust frequency. That's a concept, but it's also a state of mind or a state of consciousness. When you're in the trust frequency, everything is different. The laws, literally the laws of physics are different. Things unfold in a different way. It's really worth knowing about and applying it to our lives. Is we just live this kind of magical life. We don't have any money, and yet everything we need comes to us just never a moment too soon. It's a constant test of trust. But here we are. And as I say to my sweetheart here, we made it this far. So as far as the films, they have to do with, let's say, indigenous wisdom, what our ancestors, our most ancient ancestors, have known for a very, very long time about the nature of reality, about the nature of the universe, about how to coexist as human beings without conflict, how to resolve conflict if conflict does come into the picture. And so the first film we did literally 20 years ago this year.
It's
called In Search of the Future.
What do the wise ones know?
And has a subtitle, What do the Wise Ones Know? So what's a wise one? With a capital W and a capital O, right? What's a wise one in our community? We look around our immediate community, the people we know, and I think we can all answer that question. There are certain individuals who we would single out as wise ones, people who know something, or people who haven't forgotten something, because a lot of humanity has really forgotten the wisdom that's in our species. Realize we've been around for probably 200,000 years. It's a long time. Now, there are people who believe we were made like the day before yesterday. I don't think so. 5,000 years ago, I don't think so. Sorry, because I've really, really studied this field. So our first film opens in Africa with the Kalahari Bushmen. And if you ever saw a film called The Gods Must Be Crazy, it's exactly those people. And they were completely unknown until this film suddenly emerged from South Africa, where I happen to grow up. So the Bushmen of the Kalahari are the kindest, most harmless, most gentle people on the planet. They have a lot to teach us. And the second film, the sequel to that film, opens in Australia with the Australian Aboriginals, the native or the indigenousness or the original custodians of what they call country with a capital C, namely the land, Mother Earth, the sacredness of the place that we have been given to live on, that nurtures us, and it's our job to nurture it back. And we, as you well know, tend not to do that. So there's a lot of wisdom emerging from the second film, which is also called In Search of the Future. But the second, the tagline or the subtitle is The Only Way Out is Up. In other words, we're in kind of a trap. Some people have called it a polycrisis. We have the climate issue. We have all this challenges to democracy. We have all the stuff that's going on around the world with our species. Because of the choices we humans have made, and we're determined to have this horrible mess, we've made a series of choices that put us where we are. The only way out of that situation is up. And I don't mean get on a pogo stick and bounce up above the clouds. I mean up to a higher state of consciousness. Because when we're in a higher state, such as the trust frequency, or such as the place where meditation or yoga or a spiritual practice or prayer might put you, that state is, the rules are different, the laws are different, everything's different. And when you're in that state, you make different choices, different decisions based on what you know in your heart of hearts. So I'll stop there and hand it on.
Yeah, so we'll hand it on. I just wanted to say that these films were Indigenous elders, scientists, and futurists on the origin and future of humanity. So it's a very, very important films. And we just screened them last night here at Sunrise Ranch and to very appreciative audiences. So we'll hand it on now. But
And I would imagine that being in Brooklyn, Sunrise Ranch sounds pretty exotic, and it is. We're 450 acres of beautiful country out in the valley at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains out in Colorado. It's really nice here, and I say that as a New Yorker.
in an intentional community.
Yeah.
So we'll
That
hand
sounds
it
like
on.
a dream.
It is a dream.
That sounds like a dream, to be honest. Experiencing being in the city, especially in 2020, and where that has led us, and all the additional awakenings since those moments. I think that one of the hardest things for me to process till this day is that heartache that many feel at how many things outside of the sacred circle penetrate the sacred circle, like family trust, like the family bond, the friendship bond, the colleague bond. Like, it feels like so many of those sacred relationships, just a lot of them are in disrepair. Some of them are finding themselves back, but there yet are others that are almost like in a frozen deer in headlights. There's so much input coming at you. How can you even begin to unravel from that state? And I would love to hear anyone respond to that. And just before that, I just want to thank Connie and Andrew for what you said. I really felt that resonance with the things that you were saying. And please, everyone, things that you are connected to, your links, your books, I want to be able to include all those things when we share this program forward, so that people can know where to connect with you too, and learn from your wisdom.
Great.
Michael, I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted just to say, I wanted to, because we're talking about indigenous wisdom, and we actually have a grandmother and wisdom keeper here with us today. And that's why, again, the voice of the grandmothers and the indigenous are an essential part of this Earthstock Summit, this traditional wisdom. Although we have wisdom keepers from many traditions, but I just wanted to make sure that we invite in Grandmother Gail, who did our opening, to share a little bit with us. Are you there, Gail?
Yes, but I couldn't hear you there for a moment. What are you asking for?
Oh, we're just talking about traditional wisdom, and I wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and your work and culture.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to. My songs come from the dream world, from my ancient ones who are ancestors on the oldest mountain on Turtle Island where I live, and have archaeology verification back to one of the oldest villages here. And we have stayed close to our land and the spirits of our land, the spirits on our land throughout that time. So that really makes a difference. My connection to the earth, to the forest, to the trees and the rocks and the rivers on this land is what sustains my life. And I learned that through spending time with my grandmothers, because it was illegal to speak our languages when I was a child and to do our songs and dances and our ways. It was all expected to be assimilation for us into this world. And thank goodness it hasn't been continuously required. We got the Religious Freedoms Act in 1978 that gave back some of our ways. We held the first allowed ghost dance in the 80s at the Civic Center here in downtown Asheville, and started to cautiously, carefully bring our traditions back and bring our ways back. And now we're really feeling like it's time to bring our sacred sites back. One of the calls that we're hoping to make at Earthstock is to actually bring together a lot of wisdom holders who can go to those sacred earth sites that have been covered up by Catholic cathedrals or just new names and not knowing history, not knowing the sacredness of the land. If we can reveal those sacred sites of the earth energies again, and we can all return to the forest, the mountains, the waters, the springs, the rivers, the stones, if we can return to those places and sit quietly with those elders. The stones were here from the beginning, so they are actually the eldest. And we can learn to listen to their voice and listen to the voice of all ancestors who can return those original teachings to us. And we need them so much at this time. So thank you all for being a part of that return.
Thank you. It was really beautiful. I have to say that I can feel the resonance created here, and before I knew about the trust frequency, it made so much sense because that's exactly how I felt. I don't think in all of my years, 10 plus years of hosting a live stream, have I ever felt just, hey, I just met you, all of you here, and it was I felt the frequency.
Well, and I will. Well, thank you. To see, this is part of Earthstock Summit. I will say, and this is just an event. It's not all about the event. It's certainly not about any one of us. It's about we're all choosing life. We're choosing unity. We're choosing compassion. We're choosing collaboration opposed to competition. We're choosing the ability to work together. And again, it really stems from this traditional knowledge of many traditions. I mean, on Sunday, we have Sadhguru from India, who's done hundreds of humanitarian projects around the world, building hospitals, helping children, helping women. I mean, again, it's not a small circle of people, even though it's nice to sing Kumbaya, but we put out a global call for people to come forward, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're a healer, whether you work in the area of peace and justice or renewable green technology. Maybe you're working around women's issues or you're part of the youth movement, that there's a seat of honor and respect at the table for you to show up and be part of this gathering, which is really going back to what Connie and Andrew were saying. It's really part of this prophecy and teaching of mending the sacred hoop, of bringing people back together in unity and in a way where we, in the age of superhero movies, that we're calling out everyone, come on out with your superpowers, and let's put our superpowers together for global change. And I will say that more than, talking about what we're against, our message is common ground. What are we for? What brings us together from the human experience? We have many people from many different cultures that are coming together. Some people are musicians. Some people are scientists. Again, how do you even find unity in such a diverse crowd? And we do that because even over the last 4 or 5 months, we've been having weekly meetings, talking to each other, getting to know each other, building this family, building this community, step by step, stone by stone, word by word, action by action. And it takes, like a lot of my native friends say here in Northern California, it takes more than ear tickling to bring change right now. Information becomes wisdom, and when wisdom is put into action, then it becomes knowledge, then it becomes manifest. So I'm a little biased because I'm involved in it, but again, this is just another event, but it's an event with a very clear mission, putting out a global call for people to come and gather. Now, we do have limited capacity at the event for up to 400, 500 people, but we will be broadcasting it. And I want to say, if people who are watching are interested, just go to www.earthstocksummit.com. And I want to emphasize, this is not a festival. There won't be hundreds of vendors selling hot dogs and micro beers. We're not selling tchotchkes and little pieces of plastic entertainment things. Like, we're really going towards a green event, an eco-spiritual event, a gathering of luminaries and visionaries and solutionaries, of wisdom keepers, of grandmothers and youth that are really working and have been working to help architect a better world, really, for all of us. Even if people don't want to participate, hopefully we can do something to bring some service and some benefit, especially in a world, like you were saying earlier, with so much divisiveness. So we have to just turn our attention from what divides us. And even though we embrace diversity and we acknowledge differences, we have to come together in unity for the next 7 generations. And even if we don't want to do it for ourselves, do it for your children, do it for your grandchildren, do it for the reality of the earth, even continuing to be able to go forward into the future in a healthy, beautiful way. And again, that's why the whole message of Earthstock Summit, this gathering, is full spectrum regenerative solutions, arts, culture, spirituality, media, health and wellness of the spirit, mind, and body, green technology, governance, economics. We're looking at all these things of how we can redesign what doesn't work and partner with what still works from these traditions and from the different cultures, and move humanity forward. And a lot of people say, save the earth. Yeah, I'm an environmentalist, but as we found during the pandemic, the earth can regenerate and heal itself. There's nothing more superior than nature's intelligence. We call that natural design. And actually, if we get out of our heads and move into our heart, and we start looking at how nature and biomimicry facilitates and organizes and works together and is symbiotic, even though Darwin said strongest of the fittest, it's strongest of the most collaborative. And I will say, mark my words, from the ears, the tongues of many elders and wisdom keepers and religions, traditions around the world, those who will collaborate, those will be here to celebrate the new paradigm, new earth, the new humanity. And it's quickly accelerating. So I remain very optimistic, and I do because I'm just involved with so many positive people who come here not in judgment and divisiveness, and limited perspective, that want to grow, learn, and work together.
You said so many things that I want to ask you about, but for clarification purposes, for people who are not familiar with the terminology, you said that the sacred hoop is broken. Can you please explain that?
I will. I don't want to give everything away because we want people to come to the summit. But but it's a good question. When I spent, and the sacred hoop needs mending. It needs healing. All of us carry so much. And again, I don't want to go down the path of all the grayness and all the we're really here to inspire people. But let's admit it, so many people around the world, everybody has trauma, whether it was trauma from your ancestors. I come from Italian family, and my other family was French, and part of my family was French, Indian. I looked into my Italian ancestry, and some of them were less than benevolent, let's say that. So a lot of us carry that ancestral karma, that ancestral astrology with us, and it affects us in our life, in our genetics, in our cellular spiritual field. Also, maybe some of us have trauma. Maybe when we were in the womb of our mother, maybe things had happened. Maybe our mothers were chain smokers or drinkers, or they were in a less than peaceful home. Maybe people who also, many indigenous people grew up in very challenging situations, because I'm just going to say, a very conscious effort for genocide that's been deployed by the patriarchal forces that really are trying to control and govern the world. So again, I'm not pointing fingers. We all, not, all of us have some aspect of what. Hold on a second. Okay. See, we start talking about density, and then the traffic jam shows up here. Anyways, but we all have this trauma. Maybe when we were born, many of us, I birthed my daughters with my wife at home. We did midwifery. We birthed them in water. We did lotus birthing. We didn't cut the umbilical cord. At that time, it was like, oh, you guys are such wild hippies. And the reality is, like, actually, we've done research, and this is before the whole allopathic medicine, which has a lot of good functions, came in and basically took over the ancient tradition of birthing, of bringing beings and children into the world. Maybe you have some birth trauma. Maybe when you were a youngster, maybe you were subjected to violence. Maybe you were abused. We saw the whole Me Too movement. I'm horrified about the amount of abuse towards women. And again, I could break into a whole tirade about that and break into tears about how much injustice has been done towards women, towards the feminine. And that's part of the white buffalo is returned. The white buffalo, several white buffalo have been born since 1994, which symbolizes the rising of the divine feminine, right? But also we're in a system right now where women's rights are being taken. So many of these things. So there's this whole patriarchal, much of it very colonial centric, colonize the mind, colonize the land. And again, I'm not pointing at any one person or culture. It's like, a lot of cultures had wars and battles and discrepancies. But the thing is, we all have a lot of trauma that we carry. So until we can really heal some of that trauma, how can we move forward as a humanity in a healthy, loving, and compassionate way? I hear another microphone on or something. So maybe that's a cue. I should just stop babbling. But to get to the point, we have a lot of trauma. We all need to reconcile. We need to sweep under our rugs. We need to get the skeletons out of the closet. We need to bring it all into the light of spirit. And we need to heal the human condition. And part of that is about mending the sacred hoop, not just of humanity, but of nature, of the plant beings, the stone people, the elementals. We also need to heal our relationship with the earth. We also need to heal our relationship with the natural world. Every day I see lists of more and more creatures going into extinction, and it's just it's a horrific nightmare. And I keep thinking, like, oh, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be back in what I understand to be a sane, balanced reality. But I also know that in some way I've chosen to be here at this crossroads, this confluence of transition in the human condition. So mending the hoop, the sacred hoop, is about all of us coming into right relations. And that means all directions: in front, behind, left, right, above, below, and within. And sometimes when we think about environment, ecology, we always look at the planet or the trees, but we never take responsibility for our own self-healing. I would dare to say that most of the injustice that's happening on the planet right now is being perpetrated by human beings. So again, I'm saying this with love and compassion, but I'm saying these are the things, the conversations, these are the solutions. This is the type of things that we're talking about. How do we heal this? So we heal a lot of that trauma through reconciliation. In 1994, and then I'll stop and want someone else to speak. We did the World's Unity Festival, and we did it as a call 2 years after the Earth Summit in Brazil, when all the world leaders got together and created sustainable development goals, and we need to stop doing this and stop doing that, and we need to fund this and fund that, and all the countries in the world agreed. Here we are, 50 years later, and what has happened? We're continuing to watch the collapse of the ecosystem. We're continuing to watch generations riddled with addiction, and depression. So again, I'm saying this not to like, oh, this is so weird and negative. I'm saying like we're looking at reality, and there's people out there that have solutions, and we need to get the solutionaries together and actually bring medicine to humanity that needs, that's starving, that's crying out for healing, for good medicine and solutions. And that's healing the sacred hoop. And within the sacred hoop, it's also the directions of red, black, white, yellow. It's bringing the nations together. Whatever race you are, that we're all human beings in our heart. And I have to say again, over the last few years, the level of judgment, of perception, of racism, a lot of it comes, someone is not born as a baby racist. They're racist because they've been programmed, because they've had information fed to them, they've been manipulated. These are all the things. And that's why, like what Connie and Andrew are doing, having alternative, positive media, looking at these things, dealing with trauma, dealing with healing, bringing solutions forward, and doing it in a kind, compassionate way for all of us, and also doing it in a way that doesn't have a hierarchy. The time of kings and chiefs and rulers and dictators is over. I'm calling it out today. It's gone. Unless we all come together and walk. And I'm talking presidents. I'm talking right across the whole board. And we've seen so much political corruption in the last 5 years. I mean, it's just profane. So I'm saying this because unless we can stand side by side, arm in arm, hand in hand, in unity, and walk forward to face the challenges of the future, humanity has a lot more suffering and a lot more challenges to go through. In the meantime, I continue to choose life. I continue to work with amazing people and to create a culture and an alternative to what is being pumped and thrown at us as the general narrative. I take responsibility for my spirit, mind, and body, my sovereignty, my happiness, and the actions. And I take responsibility for my ancestors and the wrong that they were doing. And we have to reconcile, and we have to move forward in love and compassion.
Wow. You opened up a whole bunch of avenues and portals that I want to jump into. And maybe that means that we need to have part 2s and part 3s to some of these discussions. I would like to hear from Maureen, but something that I would like to say is that I agree with you, Michael. We have to, something I've been saying is that self-reflection. Like, I'll share a little story that some of my community members know. Being so focused in the world of politics, I just, so that you guys know, I'm independent. On the books, I'm Republican. So it tells you where I'm at in my lens, right? And as a Puerto Rican living in Brooklyn, I don't know, I have to say, experiencing different environments, being in most of my life in nonprofit community activities, wellness, Indigenous. My sister and I closed a little metaphysical shop during right in 2022, but that was after 10 years of being open and working with the community. We knew, my sister and I knew, that we were lucky that we were each other's reflection, and we were lucky that we had a younger brother. And although the differences in styles, there's always been a beautiful commonality and respect. We have like dreams where we may find ourselves in the same place. And the one way that we discovered this is, I guess, when you have those moments in dream time that you just wake up and you know every single detail. And there was this one thing that we all went to the same town, and like love, and we have the weirdest schedules, but this moment, like, God created this synchronistic moment where we found ourselves at with our moms, and all of a sudden the siblings are chatting, and one by one we started opening up and talking, and we realized we were in the dream, but like we experienced and had vantage points of recall that were different days within that same time frame. And it was almost like we experienced this other world and timeline and movie in that world. And we have this very rich connection. Yeah. What motivates us to do spaces like this, to be in union with people like yourselves, and to also be always, it's important for us to try to bring these message of unity. And like Michael said, this is not coming from a Pollyanna, fluffy, wuffy place. This is people who are like yourselves. You have experience, you've done the work, there's lineages, you have teachers, where I guess my sister and I are like more of like that new crop of like the urban medicine men and women. And here we are with a little shop, and we're not even ready to even own those titles. And we would see people who trained for a weekend coming in with clothes that look like shaman clothes that they bought like for $500 and no judgment, right? But then after sitting in so many beautiful circles and meeting amazing healers and indigenous people, and we see what their tools are, and I'm having a conversation with somebody at the shop, no offense, but where does this come from? Is this like cultivated in a certain way? And in my mind, I'm like, do you think grandma or grandpa is gonna be like, oh, let me see, I don't know if the neighbor sprays something, but obviously today we're gonna be more mindful. But my thing is, one of the most basic things that I've always learned is work with what you have in front of you. And sometimes that's a breath. And many people let that go in 2020, no matter where they were in the spectrum. And I feel that that was one of the simplest ways that then, if you're not breathing, then how much information are you taking in? Because then that signals that the body's either in fear or anxious or panicked. So you're not really taking in, but the media, where my industry, they're happy to tell you what to put in places of when you were frozen in state. And then here we are, where I have people who slide into my messages and they tell me, when you're talking about races and owning up, I get called a racist. I get called a white supremacist. We get called Nazis. We've been uninvited to gatherings with people of our kinfolk. We're not allowed in certain Puerto Rican festivities. And we've done nothing wrong, because all we've done our whole lives is serve community. And so when you say trauma, yes, there's trauma. There's trauma with even your own family. There's trauma with people who look like you, who you thought, like many of us, we have trauma. My sister and I have trauma from where did our elders got very quiet in 2020. Many people that we learned from, there was no one to learn from at that moment. It's almost like teaching stopped. And thank God for people who had tools and people who had community, because let me tell you, what saved me in 2020 and forward, with all the cancel culture and being canceled out of all sorts of things, has been the medicine community, the holistic wellness community, having a tribe, having someone that you can talk to, someone who can look at you and say, I may not look at everything the same way you do, but I'm going to hold you, my sister. I'm going to love you up, my brother. You can weep here, you can cry, and it's going to be okay. And we can heal, but we also have to move forward, because that's the part that I see many people are in such a frozen state that people are not moving forward. And with each something that happens, whether in politics or something that shifts the culture one way to another, more people are angrier, and more people are saying, well, either this or that, or you're for this or you're that. And nobody is like that. We're supposed to be different anyway. And so this impassions me, because I can't believe that that we waste so much time as a society, or in the spaces that I'm in most of the time, and all I see and hear are people putting each other down. What does that resolve? What does that bring into the space? Maureen, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. Rose Angel, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
And thank you for mentioning the breath, our collective holding of our breath, because everything has appeared to be very frozen, very stuck, very overwhelmed. And, listening to everyone and listening to Michael talk about all the overwhelm and picking up the threads from Connie and Andrew around the trust frequency, listening to Grandmother Gail talk about the peacefulness of the ancient wisdom of the rocks and the water and sitting by the river. So even if we are fortunate enough to escape, a big Brooklyn city or wherever we happen to be, doesn't matter what our environment is. It's our environment within our own heads that creates the static. And when we have so much static in the way, and we're hearing all of everything that's happened, in the same way that Michael speaks to Bucky Fuller, don't try to fix the old. Let's create something new. And so I have something to offer that is really new. It is a whole new paradigm, in fact, because we get overwhelmed by all the buildup. We're living on the default. We're in resistance because we are love. So anything other than love, just keeps, poking at us and interferes with us. I love Dr. Bruce Lipton and Biology of Belief, and he supports and endorses my work. I'm very blessed for that. My book is called Your Magical Evolutionary Code Unleashed, The Science of Inner Resonance, because we are love, as Connie and Andrew teach, and it is a conscious, loving universe. It would not appear to be that for many. And when you look at the world around you, it looks quite dark and forbidding and overwhelming. And so what if we had a part within us, and there was a part of us that knew how to take care of all the overwhelm? Dr. Bruce Lipton says that we're all out of our minds. And I just totally love that, because, it really is true on so many levels. And why he says that is because the mind is a field all around us. With all these explosions, that's where I talk about it being the mind field, where all the bombs go off, all the unresolved issues are waiting to trigger us and, create this war, within ourselves or with others, whatever it is happening that we don't agree on, or we get, induced into fear state, whatever it is. And so how can we actually, and quantum physics tells us we are commanders of our reality. Like, what? How do we do that? And we're all running on the default program of helplessness and of victimhood. And what if we were magnificent beyond measure? What if there was a part of us, our quantum spiritual self, that we can apply to, if you will, delegate to allow in that quantum space where there is no time, all of the fear, all of the trauma, all of the pain that is no longer relevant in this moment. It just keeps battering at us, and it's not necessarily right in front of us here now. So our bodies were designed to give us an experience of each moment, right? The power of now. Anybody heard of that? And the power of presence. And so how can we, when we're so distracted and so inundated? And so IRT, Inner Resonance Technologies, is a solution. It's a key that allows access to our quantum superconscious selves, that has a whole picture, that knows all the static, everything that's no longer relevant to this moment or necessary to drag forward. And so we don't have to figure it out. Isn't that beautiful? We don't have to act it out. We don't have to relive anything. We don't have to know anything, because that field, that mind field all around us that has all the bombs, our higher quantum self, spirit, knows how to neutralize all those bombs, all those unresolved traumas from the generations, from lifetimes. Because guess what? In that place where there is no time at our quantum self, we have access to all of it. You can dream all kinds of dreams in night that cover time immemorial, many, many things. We have a different quality of time. And so in our waking state, we don't have access to what is our wholeness and what is our potential, because we're so like this. So rather than carry on too much, I would really like to inspire people with the understanding that when we wake up and truly remember who we are as spiritual infinite beings, breathing source energy into this incredible body. Do you know that the body is a quantum supercomputer? And, as Bruce Lipton says, all the signals are in the field, and the body is like the radio. Pardon that old, pardon me, I'm very old, image or metaphor of a radio or cell phone or TV or whatever you want to say, receiving the signals. And so we are a victim of our own consciousness. And so what happens, oh, Michael, please mute. Thank you, love. And so what happens is that, we don't have to do all that work. Isn't that amazing? Because everything that's of fear, that's of anger, that's of frustration, that is of overwhelm, that is traumatic and painful, is all a similar frequency. And it's the same chemistry that gets produced to act out in our body in one way or another. So guess what? When you can allow your superconscious and spirit and your higher self to go into that great mystery where all the signals and all the unresolved programs are, and just neutralize them in that place where there is no time or space, then the result, what's the result? Anybody have any idea? Freedom, to be present and to respond instead of to react and to, make things worse, by going into that duality. And I heard many years ago that the shift from duality and oneness is a perceptual shift. So everything runs on perception. So once we clear all the static and all the noise and all the overwhelm, and give it over to our quantum superconscious selves that know what's ready, what we don't really need anymore to drive us or to teach us or to experience in any way, shape, or form. It's just sitting, it's just not serving any useful, positive purpose. Then we're free to choose again and to be in relationship with love and with our own selves and with others, be able to truly collaborate without having to go into that little competitive thing, and we all have it, at some level or another. And, when's it going to be my turn? All of those things. And yet we are just in that place of trust. And that's why I love working with Connie and Andrew, because, our work really matches so well. The 10 assumptions for a new paradigm are what allows, what IRT allows to really be received, because the truth is already within us. And I used to run a program called Be Michelangelo, and based on the principle that, Michelangelo was asked about the David in particular. Oh, wow, Mike, you had you have so many great sculptures, and you're just an incredible artist. But that that Michelangelo is that David is spectacular. Like, it's so impossible to think how he could craft and carve the detail in such fine minutia. How did you do that? And he said, David was already in the block of marble. All I did was keep my vision and know that. And then my hands automatically just chipped away everything that was not the David. And that's us. And then the David just inspires people, just shines inspiration. People, I haven't seen the David myself, but I know people that have been there. And just the stature of it, the magnificence of it, the beauty, the pure perfection of it is confronting to many people. They cry. They just go away for days and try to process what they just experienced. And yet, That's who we are. We automatically shine when we allow our superconscious, our Michelangelo self, to carve all of everything and resolve and dissolve all the parts of us that have been built up and plastered on and covered us over and encased us and contracted us and enslaved us. Whew, it can happen a lot faster than what we believe. And that's just a belief that it's taken a long time to build up, so it's going to take a long time to get better. No, that's not true. And so we are at that precipice, as Bruce and other teachers will say, we're at that brink, of that sixth mass extinction, human caused. So how do we bring ourselves back from that? And how do we then enable ourselves to sit quietly with the wisdom keepers, with the rocks, with nature, and truly clear from all the generations, all of the soul memory, our entire matrix. So IRT allows us to do a super duper defrag antiviral program for our quantum supercomputers that are magnificent beyond measure, that are an instant responder to our consciousness and allows us a whole new reality.
And that's really, really well said. I have many questions, but I want to be respectful of your time. Grandmother Gail, what message would you give people who are struggling to communicate with loved ones over different opinions, or maybe just things that have been left unsaid for so long? And I think one of the reasons this question drives me is because many of us have lost loved ones. We lost a family member earlier this year, and our mom is having some health challenges. And I've realized that when someone is experiencing all these different challenges, many different feelings come up. How do we make peace? So, as Michael said, we start healing, bridging divides, and coming closer to healing that's and being whole in that hope together.
Thank you, Rose Angel. That is such a beautiful question. And it's actually something that we've talked about covering at the summit, about reaching back before the wounding to the ancestral patterns that show up in our lives and allowing those ancestors to guide our process of healing. And a lot of that can come through the dream world. I'm a certified Jungian depth specialist, depth psychology, Carl Jung's work. And that originates in our medicine ways. The Europeans didn't think about anything but working with the body for illness and for these wounds that you speak of, these family heart wounds, the brokenhearted, the very top of the list of what takes our life from us is the hearted that is broken, and it comes through the genocide and through the ancestors. So we can learn to work with our dreams, which are actually our connection with the soul. And the soul has access to every experience we've had in every life and to every collective that we've been through, every influence of the times, and it connects us personally at this time with the world soul and the collective, and allows us to change with our actions to actually be an influence in that world collective. And the steps that we take to reach out to those people that you ask about, whether they're on the other side or whether they're on this side, can be guided by those who came in to help in this way and those who have done their work from the other side to achieve that wholeness that is so needed to mend the sacred and all the abuses that we've experienced and continue to experience, we simply reach back into our own soul and listen, learn to listen to those ancestors who've done that work and ask them to help all of us who are still doing the work so that we may heal those hurts and mend those relationships that are so important and so critical for the love that continues throughout this side, the other side, every side. And you know, Rose Angel, I have to ask you, I have friends who are of the original people of Puerto Rico, the Taino. Have you reached back to your ancestors to see if you might carry that lineage in some of those ways, especially when you shared your dream? You know, I do dream work, and so I see these things show up in Indigenous families in those ways. So,
Wow, that's a powerful question. In terms of having like in data analysis, I don't know, but in terms of resonance, my great grandmother had very indigenous features, so I think that's where I get the high cheekbones. And sometimes people don't know where to place me, and I think maybe it's from that. And we've studied different forms of cultures and relating, and we really do feel connected to the connection of the land, our language. We had a little crystal shop called Botanical, and it was like a little homage to the botanicas, but the language we felt like we wanted to express. We added the L for love, Botanical, and we had plants. Not that we sold them, but they wanted to be happy with the crystals, and we had we would our little shop was named the Heart Chakra, and during those 10 years we got to see, let's say, thousands of people, and from them it was every day was an adventure. You were learning from each and every one of them, and then
yeah.
mirrors back to you. And I think that the biggest thing we learned is you're always learning. And when you think you know something, you get humbled. And when you think you have had your mind made up about something, or when you draw up a certain bias, something will come to show you. And if you resist it, maybe you have to look at it again. And I really, really felt that beautiful energy. We are connected to the people who feel connected to the Tainos and the Taino movement. And we did have some Tainos come in and bless our shop when we opened up. So something is there. We haven't really fully explored, but my sister and I, we definitely feel connected to it. But you know, in these days of people saying, I feel like this and I feel like that, it's just one of those things where I think that one of the things that we've learned a lot from our teachers has been more about, it's more important to try to walk the walk. And we wanted to try to practice that as much as possible and learn and be in that humility. Just like I feel that resonance with all of you right now. And like I wish I was sitting literally by the fire with all of you. And I hope that that will manifest, because it really has been a treat to be feeling all of this today. I wanted to ask Connie and Andrew if they had some thoughts that they would like to add.
You know, I just think the single most important thing is kindness. This very troubled planet, if we could just put kindness first, treat each other with respect and gentle kindness and concern, and do the same with Mother Earth and every other living creature on the planet, we would have a very different world, and we'd be a much more intelligent species.
And I also feel it's just really important for people to do their inner work, which Maureen's work really gives credence to, and is like a quick cleansing of it all. We don't have to go through therapy forever. We don't have time for that now. It's time now to go and do our shadow work, those parts of ourselves we don't love yet, and those feelings of victim, and go into knowing that everything has happened for us, not to us, and to know that the quantum healing is available to cleanse that stuff out, and so we can go forward into a higher frequency on an individual level. We feed the collective consciousness with every thought we have, every emotion we have, every act we do. We feed it's a holographic universe. We are the universe. So we need to know our responsibility to do our work. And Maureen's work is just so powerful in that regard. Maureen, do you have anything to add to that?
Thank you. Well, it really is the fast track because you don't have to go through it in order to heal it. You don't have to feel it to heal it. And I love that about it. There's way too much to feel, way too much to try to be conscious of, when we can just give that overwhelm up to the part of us that knows how to shift that with us, for us. And what a blessing, what a gift that is, to free ourselves up on a fast track that gets to the love, to the truth of who we are in a very efficient, elegant way. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for those words, Connie.
My goodness. This has been really refreshing, because as I've listened to the resonance of all of you speak, it does sound like a song. It sounds like poetry. And I love that. I feel this warmth in my heart, and I feel like I'm being hugged. And I know that it's all of you co-creating that together. And I really thank you. That's really thank you for sharing this beautiful experience. Michael, as we start winding down, I'd like to get closing comments from all of you. So I'd like to invite Michael to share any thoughts, and if you want to start adding some closing comments.
Well, I'm just going to say, because my battery's about to die, and I would love to do a deep dive. I will say we never know what we're going to get when we come on these calls. And I appreciate that we've been able to go a little deeper than just being a quick infomercial. And you got a small taste of just a few of the presenters. We're going to have over 70 presenters during the week, and it will be broadcast. But what I'd like to say is very simply, everywhere is sacred, healthy, happy, whole, and holy. And don't go on and be programmed and just listen to the internet. Don't let the internet be what feeds you. Let it be the internet. And like Maureen was saying, let that inner intelligence, that truth. That's why there's so many people having challenges, because we know there's something different than what we might see in the 3D world around us. So besides today of all the transpersonal, human, and spiritual work we were talking about, we're also going to be doing stuff around work with nature, the mycelium, regenerative agriculture, green technology. We're going to be doing a lot of work with the environment, natural building, earth ships, music, dancing, lots of amazing stuff. But today I think we started to explore the deep human element of this Earthstock, of this global regenerative movement, even beyond the Earthstock event. So thank you so much for having us. And I want to thank the us, not just the you, but the we, all of us coming together, putting the unity and community for showing up right now and helping to make this happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to, before I move on, and ask Maureen to share any closing messages and closing comments, and remind people where they can connect with your work. And Michael, they can learn more about Michael, earthstocksummit.com. Do you have a link besides, I'm getting tongue-tied, link besides Earthstock Summit?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of great content on our Facebook page, Earthstock Experience. We have a lot of great material there. We have messages from the grandmothers, including Gail and Nan Claudia, who's from Guatemala Mayan tradition, and Marsha Willardson. We're constantly putting up tons of video, images, and insights. This is not show up, buy a hot dog, drink a microbrew, and leave. This is a game changer. This is a life-changing event. Whether you can join us in Colorado at a beautiful place called Crestone, where we have several hot springs, 20 spiritual centers for a deep transformational retreat and give yourself that gift, we'll still be able to welcome people online through the broadcast. But yeah, Earthstock Experience on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And thank you very much, everyone, for being very understanding with the way we started. Maureen, a closing message. Please remind people where they can connect with your work.
Thank you. Well, the first reminder I would like to give people is that very opening healing, which was a short version of IRT. And the breath and the touch that we all did together is a new program of activating love, activating clarity and freedom. And everything's contained in that one touch and that one breath. So on a daily basis, I invite you and all listening, if you don't already know this, to before sleep, when you wake up, anytime you get triggered or you need a boost, a single touch and breath. We are supercomputers beyond what we can even imagine, and that is the doorway. And so people can find more about me, more about my work. They can download my book at maureenedwardson.com. Very simple. And everything is there. And I always love to chat with people about this. And I love to give people, free experiences of my work when they contact me. It just brings me a lot of joy. So please connect with me on maureenedwardson.com, and let's dance. Let's play.
Oh, I love that. Let's dance. Let's play. Please, Grandmother Gail, would you like to share closing comments?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. For those who want to do Jungian dream work, dance and movement therapy, art therapy, and music therapy, you can connect with me on my blog, dreamstorymagic.blogspot.com. And those who want to sing and dance can find me on Facebook. Dream Songs is our Facebook group, and Guided Ritual Transformation Dances is both a Facebook group and a YouTube channel where I share original music that comes in the beginning through a medicine journey, and with that journey drumbeat that you mentioned in the beginning, and then collaborates with lots of different people. So we are actually creating 4 dances for the summit. Michael and I are working together on the music, and there's an amazing dance teacher named Aza in New York who's going to lead the dances as we do the guided ritual transformation dances with the elements to connect us with the 4 elements at the Earthstock Summit. And then you can see there below my name, my YouTube channel for the songs that come to me from the dream world is Singing Mist 1. And we gather in community once a month, once for the songs, once for the dances, and once for the dream work. So we have dream work coming up this Thursday. We gather right after the full moon. And that's where we want to hear dreams for the collective, dreams that take place in the public with people we don't know, in the city, on the transportation, the buses, the airlines, the trains. Those dreams are for the collective and can help shape the collective in the times that we're in just by sharing those dreams. So thank you so much for this opportunity to bring all that together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then Connie and Andrew, closing remarks. Please remind people when they can connect with you. And I don't know if there's a prayer that you can close us out with, or something that you feel guided to share.
Well, I think we'll let Gail Thomas take us out with a prayer. I'm not a prayerful person. I don't know. Are you a prayerful person, Andrew?
Oh, I've got simple things I can.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll let Andrew. But meanwhile, we do have a online course called The Dance of Souls, which applies our trust frequency construct to our relationship with ourselves, others, and the universe. And one can access our book, a online ebook called The Conscious Loving Universe, a guidebook, and our Dance of Souls course on our website, thetrustfrequency.net. And oh yeah, this is the book, the Trust Frequency book, Indigenous Cosmology and Quantum Science Synthesis on the Conscious, Loving, Abundant Nature of the Universe. 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm. So yeah, thetrustfrequency.net. So, and for our films, you can go to insearchofthefuturemovie.com.
Right.
And
In
see our
search of
teasers.
the future movie, not in search of the future.com. We couldn't get that. So it's in search of the future movie.com. And it's a portal to our movie.
Yes. So do you want to do the prayer or you want to turn
No,
it to?
it's really not a prayer. It's more like a takeaway, a little thing that you can actually put in your pocket and take it away. And it's 4 words. And it is this: trust the loving universe. Just know that we do not live in a cold, dead, lifeless, clockwork universe. We live in a conscious, loving universe. And once we remember that and trust it, and trust that everything that happens to us is actually happening for us. All those things in life that we probably wouldn't have chosen, but you look back later in life and you go, well, if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have met you, babe, or something like that, right? Yeah. So remember, trust the loving universe.
With bold, committed action. That's what it takes to get
I
into
love that. Oh, that was like complete. And Grandmother Gail, do you want to close us out with a prayer or song?
Thank you. I would love to close us out with Grandma Grace Black Elk's gratitude song. So let's just feel that love and gratitude in our heart and sing along. Rose Angel, I bet you can sing. And it doesn't matter if you don't know the song. Just frequency vibe, just join voices and come together with me. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, Much love and gratitude to all. Until again, Donna Doka.
Love and gratitude to all of you. Michael, do you have anything else to add before we close out?
I think just all of us sitting in a moment of silence. I just found a quiet spot. I am busy promoting some at this big street fair, but I found a little shade under this huge grandmother redwood tree. Beyond words. And I just want to say gratitude for life, gratitude for all the people gathering today.
I'm breaking up, Michael.
Send gratitude and appreciation.
Gratitude and appreciation. I guess we really took the frequency so high and that mic was cutting in and out. What a way. I love that. I do feel charged up, I have to say. Thank you. Thank you again. And everyone, remind the dates. August for the Earthstock Summit.
August 19th to 25th.
August 19th to the 25th, Echo Spiritual Summit. Please learn more by visiting earthstocksummit.com. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And I hope that our roads connect again, and that I hope that I can meet all of you in person and give you a gratitude hug. Thank you for your presence today. All right, mi gente, this is Rosangel Perez. Thank you for joining us at the table with cafecitos, or maybe it's your tea, or maybe it's chai, whatever it is that you felt compelled to come. But it's great to come in and listen and learn. Visit Earthstock Summit to learn more. Thank you for everyone. Have a beautiful, blessed night. And I'm going to leave with this song that came to me earlier this year, and I nicknamed it Activate the Love Frequency. And we'll close you out with that song. Good night, everyone. Please love, subscribe, and please connect with everyone who participated in this conversation today. Have a good night, everyone. Mama is calling her children. Mama is calling her children. If you go into that quiet place, you'll hear her speaking. Mama is calling her children. Mama is calling her children. If you go to the quiet space, you'll hear Mama say to you, my dear little child, why do you frown when there's so much beauty around you? My dear little child, why do you cry when there's so much beauty around you? My dear little child, why do you scream when there's so much beauty around you? My dear little child, my dear little child, I'm asking you to open your heart to the drum beat. Open your heart to the drum beat. Open your heart to the drum beat. My dear little child, don't you hide from the love you seek. It's inside of you. It's inside of me. It's inside of all of us. Activate, activate the love frequency. The love frequency. Activate, 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 activate the love frequency. Activate the love frequency. Activate the love frequency.